Welcome to Rock Talk Lapidary, your podcast for everything rocks.
Coming to you every Thursday 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Be sure to like, subscribe, and tap that bell. Let's get rockin'.
Hi guys, welcome to Rock Talk Lapidary, where we talk everything rocks with some of Lapidary's most influential and creative people, just like you. From beginner to master lapidary, we bring something for everyone. So if you love rocks, you will love us. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, grab a pen and a notebook, and open up those comments. Every week we do a giveaway, and for our live viewers, so dropping comments is how you get entered. It's also how you get entered into the great big giveaway, which we'll talk about later tonight. Be sure to share this video out to anyone you know that you think loves rocks or learning. And we meet here every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Kirsten Safford. This is my channel. And I would love to introduce my co-hosts now and let them tell us a little bit about what's going on with them this week. Before I do that, I do want to thank our viewers on Spotify. The numbers are going up over there, and we are so excited for that. If you are watching on Spotify, please drop a comment so that I can enter you into the giveaway as well. Okay, let's bring on Courtney.
Hi everybody, Courtney King, CNS Services, Cabs and Stones. I cut cabs, I sell slabs, I do anything and everything that involves rocks, because rocks are awesome.
Yes, they are.
What I've been doing this week, I've been doing a whole lot of nothing rock related, and I'm very sad. My husband has me working in the yard, so I am doing, rock garden stuff, but that's not the same. So,
I wish I was working outside. It was still snowing here today. I can't believe it.
Yeah,
so,
I can't believe it either. It's in the 50s and 60s here, about to be in the 70s.
I'm jealous.
We're planting. I'm like, it's snowing there. That's just crazy.
It is.
But thank you, buddy. We are super, super happy to have you. And like Kirsten said, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the notification, hit the bell. Do it all, because we love you and we want to see you.
That's right. Okay, let's bring on David.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you tonight. How's everybody doing?
Dave.
We're great.
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a good day. I'm really excited about this show, and we've got both John and Sherman on the show tonight, and I'm really amped up about that. I think it's going to be a great show for those out there. I'm Dave. I am from Rock Tumblers for Autism on Facebook. Our official registered name, of course, I've put up on the screen, is Cogwheels for Autism. And we give rock tumblers to kids who have autism, as well as doing lapidary work.
Nice. Very nice.
That's awesome. We love that. Okay, let's bring on our next co-host, Ryan.
Ryan.
What's up, raccoons? How's it going? I'm Ryan from Glacier Bros. Me and my beloved little brother Andrew, we sell Rough and Slab live on Facebook 5 days a week. Come check us out. It's a lot of fun. Don't want to buy, even just come get a good laugh. You might learn something too.
Yes. No, I agree. Watching videos of people selling rocks who know what their rocks are is a great way to learn. So that's awesome. How was your week?
Absolutely.
Great. I'm so stoked for tonight. I look up to both of these gentlemen, so I'm very excited. And everything that they touch and make is gold to me. I love it. All of it. So super stoked to have both of them here.
Okay. I am too. I'm super stoked. And let's bring on Brad. Brad, welcome.
Hey guys, how's everybody tonight?
Hey, what's up?
Good. How are you?
What's going on, Brad?
I'm doing well. I was going to say, everybody's getting cabin fever up here around where I live, and being how I run a handyman business, it's become like crazy busy for me, so it is what it is. But I'm Brad. I own JBB Rocks. We do live shows on Friday night, plus or on Sunday night, excuse me. I better not make sure I tell the right date if I'm going to say it.
Yes, you sure.
I mostly make spheres, but I do cabs, I do fossils, I do a little bit of everything, and that's us.
Nice.
That's great. Before we bring on John and Sherman, I just have a couple of small things to talk about. One of those things is our viewer spotlight this week. And what's really interesting to me is this person reached out to me not through YouTube, but through TikTok. And I'm telling you guys, if you don't have a YouTube channel or you don't have a TikTok channel, you're missing out. So the person that is our spotlight this week his name is Vincent D'Angelo. And here is a little bit of his work.
Very nice.
Wow.
Yeah. So he
Yeah.
he has a great YouTube channel. It's called Vincent's Rock Garage. Here's some more of his work.
Oh, Surfite.
Surfite, you were selling some of this this week, weren't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Very cool stuff. And one thing that I really found interesting was he's into checking out the radiation levels of his stones, and that is one of my favorite things to do. So he had a hot piece of dinosaur bone here, and I thought that was so cool. So thank you, Vincent. You can follow him at Vincent's Rock Garage on YouTube, also on Facebook as Lapidary Angel. What's really cool is he sits on the board of directors for a local lapidary club called lapidary.org. And they do a lot of classes on Zoom, so you might want to check that out as well. So thank you, Vincent, for submitting those.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, very cool.
Let's get to the main part of the show.
Yeah.
I know that's what everyone's hungry for. So Sherman
Yeah.
and John, welcome.
Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
It's great. It's great to be here, and it's great to see all of you. We really appreciate what you're doing with your whole channel here, and education is certainly a big part of what we've done. For those of you who've found our YouTube channel, we've got about 600 videos on how do you fix, build, modify, troubleshoot,
Run.
Equipment, and also cutting. So
That's
anyway.
awesome. That's one of the most intimidating things to me about buying stuff, because everything I do is DIY. So buying and investing that kind of money into this equipment, but not knowing really how to maintain it, it's really cool to see you have so many videos on YouTube.
Yeah, well, our philosophy has been really help people no matter what equipment they have, because when we were getting into it, I think we've owned probably every brand that's out there, from Royals to Contempos, Diamond Pacific, Laura Tones, Covingtons, Beacon Stars, what other
Diamond, Ducats. I think there's a C&M or something out of Oregon that I had. I haven't ever had a Nelson though. I haven't had a Nelson saw.
And we've had the Gravity Feed Great Westerns. There's so many great pieces of equipment over the years, and our philosophy was really to help people first and foremost, because that was one of the things that we struggled with getting started in what we were doing in lapidary. And that's, it's kind of one of the things that John and I, when we talk about doing this, because if you ask us, had you intended to do what we're doing, manufacturing equipment, cutting factories and all that, now that wasn't really in our thinking a long time ago. I mean, it started off for John and I, well, you were 10 and I was 5, right?
It was 1970, got our first saw, and it was a Highland Park 10-inch gravity feed. They had that motor option for it, but there wasn't a lot of money being spent on lapidary equipment back then. So we got the gravity feed machine, and it was really, really difficult. And
Well,
even back then, there was a lot more activity in the clubs and such. But I mean, you didn't have an internet, so getting somebody to actually help you figure out how to make your saw cut effectively, uh, it was it was difficult. It was pretty much something that the interest was there, but when we would struggle so much just to get a piece cut, that we kind of our
well,
interest
dude, let
kind
me
of
let me
fell
tell
off
the
on that.
day, because I can tell the day. We were in Ohio. We're on, like, a picture of this. We're in Ohio. We're on the porch. The sun's coming in. It's like a Ohio farmhouse, and we were so stoked because my mom and dad had bought us a rock rascal grinder and hooked a motor up to that, and they bought us this Highland Park 10-inch saw. And we were like so jacked because our mom worked for the U.S. Geological Survey. And so she had this interest in rocks. And when we took our first trip, we were stopping everywhere because this is like when Route 80, Route 70, the road cuts were brand new. So you could just go outside and if you're in Auburn, you could be just picking up, Chinese writing rock or other types of materials. So we took a camping trip because our family didn't have a whole lot of
That
money.
was, I think, and that was the camping trip was 1975 or something
No,
like
no, no,
that.
no. There was
No,
an
no,
earlier one. That's
72.
the second
But
one.
anyway, we had a 1962 station wagon, and we took an 8-week camping trip going all across U.S. and then up into Canada and looping all the way back. And by the time we got back, that thing was sitting on the springs.
Nice.
It was sitting on the snubbers. We had picked up rocks everywhere.
Well, and all of them had that trunk, and that was full of rock as well. But where this really was a pivot for us is I remember us being on that porch. We were so excited. We're trying to cut this gravity seeking saw, and I was hanging on the cord with the bucket with a bunch of nails in it, trying to make it go. And it was at that point in time I'm thinking to myself, this kind of sucks. It was like slow. It wasn't working. We were both frustrated because we had the interest, but we were quickly running into we weren't succeeding in being able to actually do that. And that was actually kind of the beginning to the end of us really doing lapidary when we're younger, because we were fighting both lack of knowledge, and we were also fighting the tools. I mean, the rock rascal was crappy. It was like this kind of flimsy sheet metal-y thing, and we didn't know that. We just knew that when we tried to do stuff, we couldn't make it work. And at that point in time, I kind of remember that day where in my mind, I'm like, man, this kind of sucks. I'm going to go do something else. I'm going to play with my bicycle. But John came back to it. You kind of came back to lapidary probably in your after.
It was right when I graduated. It was right when I graduated, finished my physics degree. So that would be 1983.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1983, I came back, and in Ohio, there weren't a lot of jobs for engineering, but I ended up in a robotics and factory automation factory that was literally like 10 minutes from my parents' house. So I was staying with my parents while I was working there initially, and I pulled all my old rock equipment out and my pile of rock, and of course I had a lot of experience by then, because in that era between 1970 and 1983, my brother and I had started a business doing bicycles, and I got a job in a bicycle shop, and Sherman worked with me for a while in that. And then as I was in school, I got a job in a machining company running screw machines. And then I went from that to prototype machining. And right around that time, Sherman and I were building race cars.
We were drag racing pretty
Nice.
aggressively.
We were doing drag racing then. He had a 1970 442 Olds that we pulled that Olds motor out of, and we put a small block 350 in it.
The W30 was blown, and then we put an
LT1
LT1 350 board.
Yeah, because
40 over.
The parts for those were really available, and I had a 65 GTO with tri-power on it.
Nice.
And so we were building cars, and we'd owned in that period of time, we owned 65 cars between when We came of age in 1983.
Crazy amount of cars. We were
That's
like,
a
we never
lot.
did anything. Like, a theme for us is we never dabble in something when we go into it. When we had our little bike shop, we had 75 bicycles that we had counted. That was like literally at one time,
We
75
go
bicycles.
all out. When we go into
Go big
something,
or
we
go
just go
home.
all
Fanatics.
out. And
Sounds like me and Andrew.
So, yeah, that's great. So when I got out of college, I pulled the saw out and I started cutting again. And of course, I know machines at that point in time because I'd done a lot of turning wrenches and designing stuff. And what I really saw was that this gravity feed concept was not a good one, because if you get enough weight on it that it actually starts cutting, then when it finishes the cut, it takes that sharp nub on the end of the rock and rakes it across the blade. And if you're not standing there in that moment and then the rock stops, that sharp nub just starts cutting a groove into the side of the blade. And as soon as it happens, you're running like crazy, your adrenaline spiking, and you're trying to save your blade. And it's like, I knew I wanted to get away from that. I wanted a power feed. So I had ended up in the company I was in. I ended up talking to this old lady. She was, I don't know, when I say old, she's probably like my age now, but she worked in quality inspection, and she was just really this nicest person. And I would talk to her every day when they would be clocking out. I'd still work for a couple hours after they clock out, but she would stand there and talk to me. And she mentioned to me in this one case, she goes, "Well, my husband used to really be into rocks." And I was like, "Really?" She goes, "I got all his stuff in my basement still." And he'd passed. And so I went down to Cincinnati and I went to see her, and she had this amazing basement full of, like, I don't know how many tons of rock, and it was everything. And I didn't know at that point in time, I really didn't know anything about rock.
Well, the thing about Ohio has lots of fossils and flint.
Yeah, it's like, and so here I am, I'm in there, and she's got this little 10-inch saw that was that, I think it's a C&M or R&M or something. It's brown saw with a little yellow sticker. I looked it up before, but that saw had a power feed on it. It was a mediocre saw by my standards today. It was a mediocre saw, but it had a power feed, and I could put rocks in there and instantly be successful cutting. So I love that saw. If you look at our Model 12, our Model 12 is modeled off that saw.
Yeah.
I made it as an agate cutting, thin cutting kind of saw. But anyway, like when I went through that, and I bought tumblers from her and some other stuff, and I'm absolutely positive that I was a complete idiot when I was in that basement buying rock, because I was sitting there buying Thunder Eggs and Tiger Eye and excited about that. And I know she had opals and Laguna agate and other things that I just didn't have any idea about. And part of what that experience brings for me is there's so many people that don't get exposed and don't get the knowledge and don't get the chance or anybody teaching them or telling them. And so they may walk into an opportunity to buy some really great rock, and because if they don't have that knowledge, they just miss the opportunity.
Yeah.
And then they also don't know what they want to do, so they just take what's in front of them. Mm-hmm. So, like we started doing these live sales for rough because we have a huge amount of rough. We started doing these live sales, and what really dawned on me in the live sales, because at this point in time, like, we're really, really spoiled because I know everybody. I know all the miners. Sherman and I have done a lot of business with miners all over the world, and we love supporting them. But we really realized that there's this desperate need for good rough out there.
Yeah.
So all of it kind of ties together with, teaching people, making stuff available. So, from 1983, Sherman and I started a band right around that time. So we were playing music. Yeah. It's funny, a lot of rock people are into music. So it's always like, "Oh, you play the bass? Oh yeah, I play keys, whatever."
That's
And
why
so
the
we had
first show, the first thing caught my eye was your guitar sitting behind you.
yeah. And I still love music, but this business is just so consuming. Really, it's very consuming at this point in time, and it's kind of like a dream. It's our
Right.
dream.
Well, it is. And one of the things that I think was a real big impetus for us, and we coming back to like when we didn't really know what we were doing and we didn't have good information, that's really why we started shooting a lot of the YouTube videos, because I would have people call me up and they're like, I can't make my saw cut or whatever that issue might be. And I'll be having that conversation maybe 5 to 6 times. I'm like, shoot, I'm going to shoot a video. I did the YouTube video really just to stop having the same conversation again and again,
Yeah.
and just put it on the web. And then I could say, here's a link to the video. And then I didn't have to repeat the 30 minute conversation. And it really, because all I wanted to do is just help solve the problem for somebody and duplicate myself. Because in the beginning, it was just John and I. This was like 2010. Well, we went out to Quartzsite, Arizona. I remember you started making the machine originally in Texas.
Let's back up a little bit, because from 80, let's say I really started hitting into it. Like I was cutting kind of casually from 83 to like early 90s. And then I bought my first spear machine, and I bought it from Johnny Richardson. And because I'd been out there, like Sherman and I dug the original Pridey in the
first memory of rock digging.
When it was owned by the Prideys, we were out there digging the Thunder Eggs, and we were out there at night too.
Yeah,
like it was dark, and they had lights and stuff on. And I did the Polly Drummonds. Polly Drummonds had the carnelian beds, and I was literally out there at night, and they had lights on for us, and we were digging the carnelian. But I bought my first spear machine, and I had the same experience with it. I didn't know how to make a preform. Like they had this little kind of description and graphic, and Brad, you know what it's like. You put your preform in the spear machine, and it's and then it falls out, and then the cups are banging together, and then you're like, what the hell? And you put it back in, and what you end up with in the cup, that motors are angled up like this, and you're trying to hold the ball, and then now it's spitting out the top, and it's all because you don't know properly how to prep the preform. And so I eventually figured that out, but it was a slower process than it should have been. And then what happened is I got crazy, because I was collecting the little agate marbles, the German made ones that were hand ground. And I love those. And so now on one of our trips, I'd come back through, we were all sitting in we had this Suburban that it didn't have any air conditioning because my parents were cheap on, we're not going to buy the air conditioning. So we're all sitting in this Suburban, it's hotter than hell. And we stopped at the Custer Rock Shop, and the guy there had a spear machine running. He let us take pictures of it. And I asked him, because he had all these great Lake Superior agates, and I'm like, I'd been to Lake Superior tons of times, never found anything. And so I'd ask him, like, where do you get all these great Lakers? And he goes, go to Muscatine, Iowa. I'm like, Muscatine, Iowa? That makes no sense. But I'm like, I trust the guy because he's got all these great Lakers. So I divert us, and we go, because we're headed back into Ohio. We go to Muscatine, Iowa, and we stop there. It's the middle of the week. They're running the whole operation. I'm a kid, right? I don't know any better. I'm young. So I go up to the office to ask permission, and I'm standing there, and they're all doing business, ignoring me. And then this one guy that works there comes up, hey, can I help you, son? I'm like, well, I'm kind of hoping I can look for agates. He goes, oh, you want agates? Come here. I'm thinking, great, I get it on a pile, and I'll find a nice agate. So he drags me around the corner and off to the shed, and he opens up the shed. It's where they put all their shut-off switches for the conveyors and shit. And all on the bottom of the floor of the shed are old milk cartons with the tops torn off, full of agates, the whole floor. Wow. He goes, well, some guy used to come and buy these from us, and he stopped coming. if you want them, you can have them. And I'm like, I had to be standing there with my jaw hanging down, and I'm like nodding my head, yeah. And he takes a gunny sack and he fills that gunny sack up. So now I've been gone from the car for like 5 minutes, and I come around the corner with this gunny sack swinging between my legs with about, I don't know, 80 pounds of agates in it. And I climb back in the car, and of course they're all hot sitting in the car going, oh, John, another rock pile. And they're like, you're done? I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely done. And off we go. But coming back from that, I got stuck on making agate spheres. So I was taking these Lakers and I was making these amazing little marbles that I would just stick in my collection, and they kept getting bigger and bigger, right? And Brad knows where this is going. The next thing you know, and I was a 2-inch, and then it's 3-inch, and then it's 4-inch. And now everything you see is a sphere. And that's what the love of spheres is.
It hasn't changed. Every rock he sees is, that's a good sphere rock. That's a good sphere rock.
That's what I tell everybody too. I see a real pretty, that'd make an awesome sphere. That's the first thing that comes out of my mouth. Yep. That'd make an awesome sphere.
Yep.
Same way with
so in that era where I was like really into sphering, then I took a job out in San Jose, and semiconductor industry, and I started an engineering team for this company, and of course, high pressure. And so I'd come home and I basically hired a friend of mine then, and I built 31 sphere machines, and I put them all in this rental house that I was renting there in the garage. And I had a wall of saws, and I hired him full time. He was living in the extra bedroom, and we were cutting spheres 6 days a week. 6 days a week we were cutting spheres. And I was doing both commercial cutting to help pay for grit and stuff like that, because I was still running carbide grit then.
Oh, and by the way, you go from his garage into his house, there's this black line.
Oh God,
I bet, right?
And the grit, you just get everywhere. It gets everywhere. And so what happened around that time is I started thinking a lot about how do I transform this process, because this is slow. If you're coarse grinding a Brazilian agate 3.5-inch ball, you're 8 hours in the machine and you're dumping grit on it like crazy. I was going through 500 pounds of grit a month, of coarse grit. And of course, then the spent grit in California was a little hard to get rid of.
Right.
So, and I was sitting there going, man, I got to fix this problem. And so that became the beginning of the design of the diamond sphere cups and the high-speed sphere machine. Mm-hmm. Those came out of that little shop, and I built the first core drill in that shop too. But I wasn't thinking at all about offering machines commercially. I was just really focused on how do I grow this business. And then semiconductor, I did that for 5 years there, and everything was transitioning. So I was going to Malaysia, I was going to South Korea, and they were moving a lot of the design and development and building into Austin, Texas. So that took me to Austin, Texas. And now I bought a house down there because they were cheap. And then I had I got 5 acres. So now I can have all the rough that I want, right? So I started importing rough from India, from Brazil, from all over. I was importing rough from all over, and I'd bring it in huge amounts. And I started selling it. And what happened then was that I was connecting with a lot of people. And everybody I would connect with would be like, do you have any saws? Because they know I fix everything. And so these people would be asking me for saws. And I'd go around, I would make phone calls, and I would find all these saws. And I'd go rent a truck, and I'd take a big loop in the country, and I would load the truck up with saws, all these broken down saws.
You'd rent those big, like those big 24 foot?
I'd rent a 24 foot, like, I don't know, Hertz or one of those guys. I'd rent the truck, and I would load it up with equipment in this big loop, and they'd come back, and then I'd fix them. And I was selling, and this is probably 2005 or 6. And I could get a 24-inch Highland Park repair it, like build it, bring it up to snuff. And I could sell that in like one phone call, 2 phone calls. I could sell it for $3,000 in a heartbeat. But I was getting really sick of rebuilding them because everything's sharp underneath them. You're cutting your fingers up. Everything's rusted and impossible to get parts. Mm-hmm. And I started getting this idea like, I could build these for that. That's the thought that occurred to me. And then when I had that thought, of course, the thing I wanted to build was Highland Park, because their big saws were the best saws. Like people say, they still are.
They definitely still are.
And that was our mission. That was our mission. Is like, and what was interesting is around the same time, and I would try and get Sherman to come to do the Courtside show, but he was almost always working and couldn't. But I would go do the show, and if you guys have been to Courtside, Courtside's a really fun show. So if you haven't gone, it's fun to go. It's expensive.
The Powwow show, that's the real nice one because it also has
the Powwow and Desert Gardens both. Others I don't really pay attention to, but those 2 shows are the best. It used to be Clouds there too, and Clouds moved somewhere else and kind of lost its momentum. But I would go there, and what everybody would be saying is Lapidary's dying.
Yep.
That's what everybody would say, because the dealers were all older people, and some of them would either lose their health or they would just get tired and they don't want to drag all their stuff to the show and set up, and or some of them just pass away, and so then they remove a row, and the show is literally smaller, and then they removed another row, and now I was doing the show for many, many, many years while I was doing spheres, because I'd go to the show and I'd sell spheres, and I had a lot of really high-end sphere buyers. So I did that show for almost 25 years. Wow. And everybody was saying it's dying. Now, I just didn't believe it. I never believed it, because if you meet any kid, you could probably pick 1,000 kids and hold up a rock and go, how many of you want this rock? And every kid's going to raise their hand. Right. Yep. They all love rocks. They all love it. We all loved them when we were young. And so why would it be any different now?
Right.
The only thing that has people stop loving a thing is when they think they can't be winning doing it.
Yep.
So that kind of connected our impetus for how do we take, looking at all the other manufacturers and what they did, and the experience of, buying equipment from them ourselves, and how do we change that? Like, how do we completely do it totally different, nothing the same?
Yeah.
And so that's really what we set out to do.
Well, and that's the belief thing though, too. Like the belief that if you believe an industry is going to die and you're in the industry, you're never going to invest. You're going to just take out it and harvest until it's gone. And that's one of the things that we really saw. I remember a really unique conversation I had. This is early on with, I won't mention their name, but they're one of the manufacturers that makes equipment that's blue. And that
narrows it down. That narrows it down to 2, I think. But yes. Anyway, go ahead.
So I had dinner with this particular person at lunch, and he was giving me advice because we're kind of newbie. This was in 2011 or something like that. And he says, you shouldn't be selling parts, replacement parts. And I'm like, well, why? Why? He says, because if you sell replacement parts, people won't buy a new machine. And I looked at him and I'm like, but not everybody can afford a brand new machine. Mm-hmm. And if you've got an older machine and you just need that part, which is part of when we started doing the equipment, we made the parts as close as we could backwards compatible, because we knew you might have somebody who has a 24-inch saw and it's got a roller block or a vice jaw that's broken. Well, why not get them another vice jaw so they can be up and running? And to me, like when he said that to me, I'm like, this is what's wrong, because it's about the money. Thinking. It's not about how do you care for somebody who has a love And if your equipment's perfectly good, why replace it? Just fix the part and buy rock, because it's about the rock. It's always been about the rock. It's not been about the equipment. Like if we ever do print catalogs, we always have pictures of rock on them, because I'm like, I really don't care about the machine that much. I care about what can the machine do to help a creative artist or craftsperson or jeweler be able to realize some idea that they have and have the confidence to pursue it. And that was like, for me, that was an epiphany, because I told John, because John's relentless around, we're going to make parts for Phantoms. We're going to make parts for Royals. We just came out for parts for, we got Star Diamond parts. And like there's a bunch of different parts. We're never going to make that machine, but people have those machines, and why don't we help them have that machine continue to run?
Yep.
And that's like, for us, that was an ethical thing about how do we do right. For us, we operate a lot by the golden rule, like just treat people the way you want to be treated. It's not really rocket science. And so in that case, like really looking at helping people, which is why we were doing the videos and all that type of stuff. I mean, 2010 is when you pulled me into this, right?
Yeah.
Because with 2009, I got an ass whooping, lost a huge amount of money, lost my house. So my family was homeless. I mean, we were staying in other people's houses, but we were part of that 2008 got slaughtered. And it's not like we did anything wrong. It's just we had a ARM mortgage that just kept ratcheting, and our loan to value wasn't. We couldn't refinance it. So it's gone, foreclosed and all that, and lost a lot of money in that. And so, John, I think you were worried about me at that point in time. You're like, brother is really
his mojo. I could tell Sherman's mojo was way off. So I was like, dude, I just built these saws. Come on out to Quartzsite, help me sell them.
Yeah.
So we go out there, we have a container of saws, and literally we sold everything in 2 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy. And I was thinking, well, I'm good for 6 months, and we sold everything in 2 days. And I was like, I think we got to have
we sold more than that. We sold 2 containers, 63 saws we sold there. And then John's like, well, you got to help me build the next saws. And of course, I wasn't doing anything else at the time.
And he hadn't been to China yet.
Yeah. Well, you originally tried to make the saws in San Antonio, because I remember you trying to do castings in San Antonio and all that kind of stuff. And it was just not possible.
Yeah, it wasn't going to happen. And the reason it wasn't going to happen, it's like everybody has a misconception about why a company like ours would decide to build in China. And their misconception is based on what, popular media loves to say. Popular media loves to say that everybody over in China is making, less than $1 an hour and they're slave labor and it's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. The labor here is not, put it this way, labor in Mexico is cheaper than here.
Way cheaper.
It's like labor in Mexico is probably less than 25% of what's here.
Yeah.
Now, what the difference is here is an entire huge complete supply chain, a massive supply chain.
What that means is
all my suppliers are, with the exception of 2, are within 5 miles of me. They all deliver to me for free. Now, you ship anything in the U.S., you realize how big of a deal that is. The second thing is, like almost everything you're buying in the U.S. now is built here. Motors, you can't buy a U.S.-based motor anymore. Bearings, you can't buy U.S. bearings. People like to say U.S. bearings. I can tell you this, Fafner, Fafner and SKF, all those brands, they're all made here.
Yeah.
You can buy crap bearings, you can buy good bearings.
Yeah.
And where it really gets ridiculous is with the cost of things like steel. You can buy quality steel, you can buy crap steel, both in America and here. So buy the quality steel.
Yeah.
So buy the quality steel here, cost about half of what quality steel costs there.
And you're not paying shipping.
Because it's passing through so many hands, and each hand is taking their share of it. And that's the problem. And, take a bolt. You can buy a bolt in America. If you go to Fastenal or Granger or any bolt house, that bolt is going to cost you, like if a 3/8 bolt, maybe it's 80 cents. And people think, oh, that's cheap. But, I use 6,000 bolts. If I build 100 machines or, I can use a lot of bolts. And the bolt that is 80 cents in America might cost me. And it's the exact same bolt, probably even made by the same manufacturer. And that bolt might cost me 8 cents here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because the bolt has passed through so many hands and the markup, I guarantee you look at Fastenal's markup.
Okay.
There is probably a 6x markup.
Right.
And then they pass it on, and then it's really ridiculous if you buy the package of 5.
You get 3 bolts.
Lowe's.
You get 3.
I guarantee you they did research. They did research to figure out how to make you buy more packets by putting them in a weird count,
Yeah.
But that is the crux. It's the electricity is as much or more here than the U.S.
Yeah.
The factory spaces cost more here.
A factory space in China costs more per square foot than our warehouse here in Boston.
Wow. Well, and I don't know if you guys watch much what goes on in all of the different lapidary groups on Facebook and stuff, but I come across people all the time who have said, oh, no, I don't want to buy something. Yeah, their saws are made in China. Their saws are made here. And I tell them, look, guys, it's no different. I don't care where you go. You can buy junk in America just the same as you can buy junk in China or Indonesia.
Yeah.
It's the materials that they're made from and the quality control of the company who puts that in place, whether or not they care about what they're selling.
Well, it's fundamentally, do you care?
Right.
Because that was really the issue. We come back to kind of the why we did what we did to do this is we love lapidary. And we're the only manufacturer who cuts commercially. Like, we had our factory going in Philippines. We sold that. We've got another one we're going to build. We're cutting between 1 and 2 ton of rock a week. That's some serious production. So we're doing and using, and that's part of how we actually design the tools we've done is we're in hard production, pushing through large quantities of material. And for that, we're living with our, kind of eating our own dog food. It's kind of like drag racing. If you're actually building your own cars and your own engines, you're very intimately involved with what works and what doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And that's really for us. We did this. A lot of what we've designed, we did for ourselves. Like, the high-speed machine, the core drills, the hydraulic machines, the auto slabber that's coming out. We want.
Oh, yeah. I got an
auto slabber.
Okay, you guys want to hear a little bit on I'll tell you, I'm excited about this one. So did you guys see our 45-inch saw?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beast. Yeah. But what I did with the 45 is I changed the feed because I knew I needed the feed to be intelligent. Yeah. And what I mean by that is that most saws, like a screw feed saw, it's gonna ram that rock in there at whatever rate it is, and if the blade gets dull, it's just gonna push harder.
Yep.
And if you're running crappy oil or if you don't know how to sharpen your blade, or if you got a crappy blade, then the blade pressure is going to get really high. So for this 45, what I did is I created a microprocessor control, and I'm looking at the amperage draw on the motor of the main motor, and I can look at that and be in a feedback loop where it sits there, and if that amperage goes up, that I can sit there and automatically drop the feed speed down, which is awesome. If you're cutting a huge log,
okay,
you do not want to stop the cut because you'll get a step when you restart. You don't want to do that on a big slab.
Yeah,
you'll see different blade marks.
Slow it down and keep rolling. Right. That's what you want to do. And then when you finish the cut, you sharpen your blade up and then start your next cut. And if you're cutting Arizona wood, you're going to sharpen that blade.
Yeah.
But what I'm working on this next saw is it's a drop style auto slab saw. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the same microprocessor and I am putting the whole vise on a be what we call x-axis. So it's
I'll answer
right
the
to
oil
left,
question in a second.
and you put your rock on,
Highland Park
and
oil.
on the processor, you tell it how thick your blade is and how thick a slab you want and how many slabs you want to cut, or cut the whole damn rock. And all it's going to sit there and do is it's going to come down and cut the rock, lift up, index over, come down, cut the rock, lift up. And you know, all these guys that are doing selling slabs, like guys like Ryan, and they need to slab up rock, and their phone rings, and they got their saws running, and then the saws stop, and they're on the phone, and they need to deal with the phone because it might be a customer, and now their saws are producing nothing. Mm-hmm. And I have that problem.
And time is money.
I know with an auto slabber, and I got a couple of tricks up my sleeve. This auto slabber is going to cut faster.
It's going to cut wicked fast.
Yeah, it's going to cut faster than any slab saw can, because I'm doing something a little different.
See, and you already have me excited about trying to get one of your production trim saws because of that very statement you just made. Yep. Hey, it cuts faster. You know, you can shove the material right through this. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to one.
You should be throwing money at that, Dave. It's
right?
my favorite machine I own.
Yeah, I know, Ryan. You use that PT. The production trim saw, it's a beast. I mean, that's a 1 horsepower. Just it does not stop, and your ability to really push material. We designed that for our factory. Again, like we were doing cutting for beading and other types of things. So you're cutting a huge amount of cuts, and you're dealing with not cheap labor. And so how do you move as much volume through as possible with a machine that is not going to have downtime? Because those are running, we're running that all day long. So, you know, having 100% duty cycle motors that are overpowered really makes the thing last longer.
You've cut huge agates in that thing, just turning them on the same cut, and it never dulls, it never bogs down anything.
It don't care.
I love that thing. It doesn't care at all.
Well, that's one of the things that we didn't like around a lot of the machines. Like, you'll see a lot of stuff that.
I have to say this. When you take machines that are kind of like the Ameritool, like, you know, there's a lot of people that use it and they'll say they like it, but, you know, I would go to shows and there would be a guy set up across the aisle from me and he's demoing the thing, and all I hear is all the show time. The blade's just slowing down. And he has to back out of the cut. And it's like, no, it's not supposed to sound like that.
The motor's
it's not
only
supposed to work like that. And, you know, it's great if you're cutting thin slabs and you know, babying it through, but, you know, certainly as you are like get in and you're working with lapidary and you want your hobby to maybe pay for itself, which a lot of people are there, but some people have taken it further and they want to actually make a living with it, then everything about how you produce is really important.
Yep, for sure. You got to say, just for my example, you know, as a spear maker, I've got a Covington 3-head machine, then I've got one of your Highland Park 3-head machines. My next investment is a high-speed machine because the time difference just in the two machines is phenomenal. And then when I get rich, I'll put a core drill machine on top of it because I still cut mine the old school way, and my saw, 28 cuts or whatever I end up with.
Well, I'll tell you, with that core drill, what you'll find is that one core drill can outcut 10 saws.
Wow.
I know because I had 10 saws and I put the core drill and I was getting more output. And I would get more out of the pieces I was cutting because I'm not cutting all these corners off.
All the waste,
Well, if you see it on a live sale, we'll sell the drops from that. And you know, you got these big.
There's a lot of material left on them.
A lot of
material. All chopped up into little pieces. So I saw Julie ask a question here. What oil do I recommend for 24-inch saw? The most important thing about oil is, one, it's not flammable. So anybody that suggests that you use diesel or kerosene or something like that, horrible idea. We've had customers burn their entire shops down. Don't do it.
Twice.
You're not going to save anything. You're going to affect your own health, and you know, it's just a horrible idea. The second thing is, and I did a tremendous amount of research on this.
Scott.
Mineral oil is the right oil to use. And it's a basis in, it was used in transformers. It was used in a lot of things. You don't really want something with additives in it because the additives can affect your health. So a pure mineral oil is the right way to go. And you want 6 to 8 CST. That means the CST is a Stokes, blah, 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 blah.
It's a viscosity.
It's a measure of
How thick the
viscosity.
material is.
And that's 6 to 8 at 40 degrees. So if you look at the Tractor Supply oil or the vet oil or any of the other oils, they're about 15. Now, I would say this. You can get away with it. A lot of people cutting with it, and a lot of people swear by it because it's a few bucks cheaper. But they're the people that always call us when the temperature in the shop drops down in the fall and they start having problems because
here's how the conversation goes.
The oil gets thicker.
But the conversation is your saw's not cutting. And I track it. I'm like, oh, you are in North Dakota. And so the saw that's where it'll go because the oil's thickening up, right? And when that oil thickens up and you're down in the cut, it can't flush out. So you're down, your blade's in the rock, it can't flush out, and so the blade is hydroplaning. You're building up a lot of force.
It's dragging all that oil into the cut, and it puts a lot more load on the motor, and it can't get out from underneath the blade, and it dulls the blade. So what happens is you run thicker oil, you run the thicker oil
in your car engine.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I would say, you can get away with it, but you got to sharpen your blade more. And you can do that. But honestly, if you set it up with the right oil, you're going to be really surprised at how the temperature of your oil doesn't go up, get really hot. It stays a lot cooler. And that the saw doesn't need sharpened as much, and the performance is good. So
let me talk a little bit about the additive question that Kirsten just put up, Kirsten Safford Art.
What was the question?
Is that she says, is there an additive you can add? So additives are generally a bad idea for a couple of reasons. So you'll see mineral oil out there, and what they'll do is mineral oil is kind of like, I'll use example of vodka. So the more high quality of a mineral spirit, the more distillations, and that's what gives the purity. One of the things that people do to try to make a cheaper mineral oil is they will take a less refined product, put a petroleum distillate, a solvent in it to thin it. Now, the problem is now you've got a solvent that you're putting in contact with your body all the time, which is not a great idea. And secondly, that solvent then, and we discovered this because we had people running oil from I think it was Kingsley North, and they were having the roller bearings on their Highland Park saws started to wipe out. And I'm like, why are they wiping out? And by the way, we didn't want to get into the oil business at all because I'm like, that's a pain in the ass. Last thing I want to do is dealing with
just shipping oils. Really,
I'm like, I don't want to do
difficult.
it. And so I'm referring people, maybe by Kingsley North. What we discovered is the particular oil that they had at the time, and I don't know if it's this way or not, it had a petroleum distillate to lower the viscosity. Well, what was happening, it was also then stripping the lubrication out of the bearings. So now your roller bearings are starting to get fucked up, that they were getting messed up because your lubrication was coming out of them. And so from that perspective, we really found that you needed to just go with a straight mineral oil and with the viscosity. And you learn that a lot when you're over in Madagascar for at Enter the Earth production, because the oil makes a huge impact on the ability for the blade to cut effectively at lower pressures. So I wouldn't recommend additives. Just get a good oil that doesn't have an additive in it and be able to run.
Well, guys, I live up here in Northern Oregon. We've had a pretty cold year, and I have your 16-inch. A lot of times haven't been able to get your oil because it was always out of stock. Yep. We have a local company here, Mark Nelson Oil Products, who makes for the local rock clubs, and it is pure mineral oil. I believe it's a 6.35. Yeah. My saw is outdoors under an awning, and I have cut all winter long with that oil. and not had that viscosity problem. Of course, I've
Well,
got
yeah,
your
it sounds like
segmented blade
that
on there.
particular oil is thin enough. It's perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got
Yeah.
that segmented blade on there, and of course, thanks to your guys' video about how to ping a blade, that has really helped me. That was an awesome video. But yeah, I've cut all winter with that thing sitting out here.
Yep.
Never had a problem.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Sometimes
great.
if
That's
guys
great.
are really cold, they'll put a magnetic engine heater to just preheat. Like I got a guy up in North Dakota, and he uses an engine block heater. And he's getting really zero temperatures, but then he just preheats his unit, and then he's good to go.
I like that idea. Yeah, you'll have to put that in one of your videos.
I might have. I don't know. I'll get him to do the video. That's actually
that's not a bad idea at all. Maybe what you guys ought to do is make your own little engine block heater to insert through the side of your machine, and have a way to plug that in.
But something you can go buy from AutoZone or someplace like that.
Make a way to just slide in through the side.
Yeah, well, this is like magnetic. It goes on the outside.
Oh, it's just sticking on the outside. Then it's not an
outside.
insert one. Just stick on the outside. Oh, that's all. I like that even more.
Heat in.
Oh yeah, that's all right.
And he just does it on the bottom of his saw, which is good. In fact, I think Chris Strictly does that as well.
Hey, really quick, guys. Let's take a drift from where we are right now. I want to actually show everybody your factory photos and have you guys talk about those for just a minute.
We can take them through the factory.
Go to the oldest one. This is the newest.
Yeah. So
go to the one that's labeled number factory 1. Do you see the labels on them? That's factory. No, it's factory 4. That's factory 3. That's factory 5. That's Philippine factory. Go to the beginning. This is the first one right here.
This is factory 1.
And this wasn't a bad factory, but it was a third floor factory?
Well, it's third floor. So we've taken these 24s down through the elevator, and they barely fit in. And on this factory, where I'm standing, taking this picture right here, what you're looking forward to is almost the entire space of the factory. So we could build about 30 or so saws at a time. And in this factory, we produced the Model 18, the Model 24, the Bull Wheel.
Yeah.
But I don't think we produced any other models other than those 3 models at this point in this factory.
Yeah.
And then let's see whether we have factory 2.
No, not that one.
Keep going.
Well, we can talk about this one.
Keep going. We'll get to factory 2. One more.
That's factory 3. I think you just passed it.
I saw a picture of.
There it is. Second floor. This is second floor again.
No, this is factory 3.
No, this is factory.
No, this is factory 3.
No, it is factory 3. Go back.
Yeah.
Nope, go back.
See, I know the factories.
Another one. Another one. I know it's in there.
There. No, that's 1. Well, maybe we don't have the picture in here.
Yeah.
Factory 2 it was an upstairs, and it didn't have an elevator, so we were using a chain hoist, and we would put these crates on, and we would swing this out over this area and then lower it down, and literally it could take us a full day to load a container.
And the bathrooms were not luxury.
Oh, the bathrooms were scary. And
it was a trough in the floor that you kind of stoop over, and then the factory guard would hose it down later. Wow. It was definitely primitive.
Yes.
You're going to go to the next photo. We'll just talk you through all these photos. They're not in order.
Yeah, we'll just talk.
This is actually the factory in the Philippines. That was more.
When did I build this? I built this with. Let's see. It would be like 2015, maybe.
Yeah, this is when we were just moving stuff in there. You can see that a 36 on the back, and then 24s and high-speed sphere machines and some core drills over there.
Yeah, basically what I put in this factory was 5 24s, 6 18s, a Model 12, 8 high-speed sphere machines, 2 core drills, a 36, and 4
all those carving grinders.
hydraulic sphere machines, and then there was 8 carving grinders,
a
4
whole wall of
of
shaping
14
machines.
drop saws, 3 shaping machines, a couple flat laps. I mean, a lot of gear. Oh, and a bunch of low speed machines.
This is actually our current factory.
This is current factory. So this is we're about a third of the way down, 1/4 of the factory. So there's basically 4 areas that are this large, and we're building everything.
This factory, I've never seen this in person. We've actually went into this factory in 2020 in the middle of COVID. China was not shut down, contrary to popular belief. I think you had 1 week that you were closed.
2 weeks.
All of COVID.
2 weeks. In 3 years, we were shut down for 2 weeks. That was it.
So we were moving in here, and this is also our first air conditioned. The whole factory's air conditioned, which
it's awesome.
Employees friggin' love it. We love it.
Yeah, all the other factories. This is third factory, which is on a second floor.
Yep.
And we would build the big machines down on the first floor because I was friends with the guy that had the first floor factory. So he would let me build my 36s and 36 drops down there.
Yep.
But all the 24, all the other gear we were building, pretty much everything we were building upstairs here.
Yep.
But we didn't have, and this is the fourth factory, and this is the third factory was above the fourth factory. So when my buddy moved out of here, he got us into his old space, which was a lot bigger. And then as you're looking at this would be where we assemble. And then one that post over to the left, we started doing our own metal fabrication. And then we took another factory that was up to the right behind this and put 2 welding guys in there, and we were welding. That's when we started
integrated
welding everything ourselves.
Yep.
So
amazing.
I've
So
got to ask
impressive.
you a question. Sherman, I don't know if you remember, it's been about 2.5, maybe 3 years ago. The first time I talked to you, I had been looking at that shaping machine, and they sent me to you because I said, I want to know, why should I pay $3,000 for your shaping machine when I can get one from China for $900? And Sherman proceeded to tell me a story about owning some of those Chinese shaping machines.
We had the same exact thought. Hey, let's go save some money.
Right. And having the pans under them to hold the oil because, the seals and stuff just wouldn't hold stuff like that.
Well, they didn't even design them to contain the oil.
Wow.
They just spray everywhere. So if you go into a Chinese cutting shop, there's oil all over the floor.
Yeah.
That's insane. Do you see any change of the culture in those areas because of what you guys have done with your factory over there?
No, because they're so those guys that run those shops, I mean, they're getting compressed. They're getting really compressed. And why they're getting compressed is the government is much less friendly to that kind of environment. Like, you can't run a factory like that without getting the wrong kind of government attention. And the labor has gone up a lot. So back when I first started going to the cutting shops here in China, which is like 2009, 80% of the stone, the semi-precious stone in the world, was cut in China in that moment in time. And now I would suspect it's way, 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 way less. There used to be 1,000 cutting shops in this one town that I would go to, and now maybe there's 50.
It's gone. It's mostly gone to India.
Yeah, it's all transitioning to India.
India has much lower safety standards.
Thailand too.
Thailand as well, but Thailand's more high end. So if you think about a lot of the higher end stuff is coming out of Thailand, and a lot of really good silver and gold work in Thailand, faceting. India is really picking up the lower end, what used to be the Chinese chop shop kind of stuff. That's mostly gone to Jaipur. And partly because in China, the government really increased safety standards. They mandated higher wages, and then they put a 75-cent per kg import tariff on rock coming in from out of the country.
Well, it's not just that. It's not just that. They determine the value of the rock. So if you say, "Oh, I paid 50 cents a kilo for this," they'll be like, "No, that's 5."
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that's it. And you're going to pay the tax on the 5.
Right.
Wow.
So that's why
That's
you're
insane.
seeing, and really the way that a lot of these companies operated, and most of them were, mostly Hong Kong owned companies. There was also a relationship there of really, Asia's very hierarchy. So Hong Kong people think they're better than mainland people. Korean people think they're better than everybody else in Asia. It's just this whole hierarchy of stuff.
You're going to get yourself in trouble with that, dude.
Okay, well, most people in Asia that we say that,
Yeah.
but like it's a hierarchy, and one of the things,
Okay, so in fairness, there are definitely people that walk around like that. Certainly in how those factories have operated, a lot of the owners really did not care for their staff.
Right.
And what that meant is a lot of these guys that were cutting stone before were cutting stone and breathing a lot of silica dust. And then there was a lot of cases of silicosis and health issues. And then the government got involved and started hammering on them. And they deserved it. Like how they run the shops, they deserved it. And so it ran a lot of shops out of business because they just weren't willing to do anything. And the ones that left have, basically they've stepped up their game a lot.
well, there's some high-end shops like our friend that does the beads. I mean, he's doing tourmaline, sugilite. He's doing the top type of material where there's margin in it for him.
Right. He probably has high-end customers to go with that business.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, the market in China is a massive market for jewelry. It's a very, very big market. But a lot of the other more mid to low ranges really moved over to India because there again, you can kind of do what you want there. It's a bit more free. Although I suspect India is going to clamp down on safety standards. Probably.
Well, they'll get there. They'll get there.
Yeah. So,
Well, guys, we just passed the 1 hour mark.
Yeah.
Really quick,
We just
why don't
got
we
started.
talk about y'all's live shows and some of the materials that you guys are selling during them, so people know.
Well, basically, what we started doing with the live shows is we had all this rough, and of course it's been on our website forever, but we really we pushed very hard to satisfy the demand on equipment, and literally there was periods of time over the last 3 years where our back orders were over $1 million. That's how many people were waiting on us, and that's come way down because we ramped the hell out of our production. We really ramped it up, and so we've gotten the team is very, very solid at this point in time. They understand the products really well, both on the sales side and on the production side. Production's super solid. Like they shipped 2 containers when I was out in the States, did a great job. So we started turning our attention to how do we really connect people with the rough rock. So we started doing the live sales, and of course we have a huge following on the equipment side. We were really surprised at how many people joined us on our first live sales, and we were doing just one on Friday nights at 7
p.m. Eastern, 7 Eastern time.
7 Eastern. And a lot of enthusiasm for what we're offering because I'm spoiled. So I get really great rock from everywhere. And I'm like, Sherman's been with me. He knows that I can go in a place and ferret out the best rock because I've cut so much that I know when I'm looking at material, I know what's good.
Well, and we buy it very large quantities. We'll buy 12 ton. We just bought 14 ton of material. We'll spend $1 million on Laguna. And that affords our ability to be able to get it in a price point, really fund the mining operation.
Some of it's about the price point. Some of it's about how do you produce a relationship with the miner where they can win. Because if the miner doesn't win, it stops. And this has been the problem. Like if you look at Mexico, the Mexico mining. That's been the problem, is nobody's giving a crap whether the Mexican guys make any money. And so it starts, it stops, it starts, it stops, it starts, it stops. And it's like we sought out a partnership there with one of our key people there. And it's a long relationship. And yeah, we spent a lot of money with him.
Right.
A lot.
But we want him to succeed, and we want to make good material.
And he can succeed if we're flowing cash to him, rather than people just a little here, a little there, a little here, a little there, and then expect them to be happy. And it's like, you know, and the investment in mining is huge. You got to have excavators. You got to have thousands of gallons of diesel. It's a huge investment. So the live sales is like, we're kind of connecting all those pieces, because we have mining contacts in Argentina, mining contacts in Brazil, mining contacts in Africa, all over. And so what we're doing is, you know, like, I will work to get the best rough at the best deal, and then be able to bring that into our live sale. And, you know, I have stuff from China, I have stuff from Madagascar, I have stuff from Mozambique, from Malawi, from Botswana, from Namibia.
Well, let me add to, John, we buy a fair amount of old collections, because also, as some of our customers really get old, one of the things we also aim to do is help them, like when they're getting to the end of their run and their family doesn't want it, to be able to, you know, be able to buy that information, that material back in bulk. Like, we're not going to cherry pick it. We'll buy everything, buy the equipment, take care of a widow or widower, so that we can help them really deal with, you know, they got enough crisis if you lose your loved one, to be able to then really help that. And then, of course, that material
I mean,
as well.
There was a woman that I met, elderly lady up in South Dakota, and I've talked about her a couple times on the live sales, because she was really nice lady, and she had some equipment I was interested in, and I called her up and talked to her, and she just mentioned she had some rough rock. So I said, all right, I'll come up. And I drove actually from Austin all the way up there in one day. It was an 18-hour drive.
He's a freak.
Driving one shot. And then the next morning I'm there looking at the rock. And basically she was really frustrated, because the local club that she'd been a member of forever, the members from the club just wanted to come in and grab just the best pieces and leave her. And she had a lot of rough, and she couldn't lift it. And she was really afraid that she was going to get stuck with this thing. And she, you know, didn't have a lot of money to spend hiring somebody to haul it off. It was a problem to her. And, you know, and certainly I liked her best pieces. I liked some of the equipment. And I didn't want to leave her with a problem. So I bought the whole thing. You know, we talked and we came up with a price she was happy with, that I was happy with, and I bought the whole thing. And you know, and I bought stuff I really didn't want in there too, but I left her in good shape, and I knew I was going to be okay.
Right.
So, you know, it's part of, you know, it's another piece of where you can either be ethical or not ethical with people buying. You know, I can think of one dealer who basically goes in and he talks these elderly women to sell them a collection. Well, I can give you $600 now, and then I'll pay you $600 next. And then he'd never pay the second or third payments. He just disappears. And it kind of chronically does this.
Yeah. I mean, for us, the golden rule is really kind of a key way that we conduct our business. We look at what would be right for us. And I mean, John has crazy amount of rock. We probably have 130 ton here. We've got at least 30 or 40 ton at your place in Texas. That's slated for cutting.
It's slated for cutting. Spheres, Dave.
Yep. A lot of spheres. A lot of spheres. And for us, we want to make that available and make it available at a fair price. That's always been our whole thing on equipment. And that is, you know, if you do right by people, you help people out, you know, you'll have people be like, hey, this is good. And we're not perfect. I mean, there's stuff that we do that gets screwed up. We have, you know, machine problems just like anybody, but we always aim to make it right. Including if we need to swap that machine out, we're going to swap it out. You know, even if we end up making no money, because it's a relationship that we care about, not the transaction. So yeah, live sales are on Wednesday and Friday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time, which is what, 4 o'clock California time. It's probably too early, but it's what we've been doing. And then we're going to start doing some other things as well. I've got pallets of slabs. Pallets and
Yeah,
pallets.
we're gonna.
I'm
Josh
excited.
Jr.
Well,
asked
we're gonna-
a question. He said, "Are your
Okay.
live sales for the hobbyists? Or are they more for other rock shops who are building up their inventory? What
I
are your live
answered it.
sales?
Oh,
What do you target?"
it's for everyone. It's for everyone.
Yeah.
And the other thing we're going to do is we're going to, Sherman, I don't know whether we've mentioned this, but I have like an insane sphere collection and sphere stock. There's probably, I don't know, 4,000 or 5,000 spheres. And it's kind of funny because I'll tell you what, I love cutting agates. I love cutting spheres, but I've gotten to where I care less about having them, like all for myself. I actually get as much enjoyment from selling a piece to somebody who's really thrilled about it and seeing their enjoyment. So I am actually parting with a fair amount of my personal collection at this point in time because it's time to share it.
He probably has one of the most, if not the most exquisite agate collection.
John, I'll send you my shipping address. You can just box them up, send them.
You know, when you find somebody like that, John, it's really awesome. My claim to fame is, you know what pop sockets are? They go in the back of your cell phone. I make them out of all kinds of exotic materials. It was old lapidary David Garcia that I got the idea from. And I have one customer who actually used to be a customer of somebody you know, and that's Brad Newport. And I don't know what happened. One day she saw my pop socket. She quit dealing with him. She has over 20 of my pop sockets now. She just bought another 7 of them in one lot. And you know, she's changed her things on Facebook, and she got a hold of me on my phone. She said, "Yes, I still want pop sockets. So, you know, send me the pictures, all these." It's really great. You have somebody that loves a product that you have. And, you know, I'm like you are. I love making the stuff, but once I've made it, unless it's something super special, you know, I put it somewhere, I never see it again, or I sell it to somebody who's down the road. But I like the reaction that you get from the person that you put that in their hand and they get to see, because it's like, this is something they could have never imagined. This is the inside of a rock, for crying out loud. And you've done this with it. And so,
Well, and I love what you're doing, because one of the things I want to be talking to you about is like, there's whole generations of kids that are being raised that they don't have exposure to rock. They may have it with their kids, but they don't know where can I go. And that's really where John on the tumblers, like all that stuff, because we're really focused on how do we get things, both
so
videos
important.
and that allow a little kid to be successful, allow their parents to be successful. Because I couldn't be successful with my kids. John bought them a lower tone tumbler, and damn, I could not get that thing to work. I tried to read the instructions on it, and it was mimeographed, and I'm like, 9 ounces of this and that. Like, I mean, literally, that's part of what we want to simplify it. And with video, you know, you can make it accessible so a little kid can follow instructions like, hey, this container, that, like, give them the way.
There you go. That's
super
perfect.
Simple.
Yeah, everything pre-measured for this size of a load. You mix this, and then you do this, and they keep. And believe it or not, the kids with autism, especially, they like to keep track of that information. They'll get very scientific about it. They'll take notes on this, and as they go and they learn, the kids are, you know, they're 1,000 times smarter than we are.
I love that, because that is exactly what this channel was started all about, was helping beginners get into the hobby. And if we don't help our beginners getting into the hobby, then we kind of just die out, you know. So we want to keep it going. Sherman, one of the things that I always ask every guest that comes onto the show, eradicate any rock or mineral from this planet, what would it be?
I missed the first part. You cut out just momentarily.
If you could eradicate any rock or mineral from this earth, what would it be?
Eradicate, like eliminate.
Blow it up. Get rid of it.
You know,
I know the answer. I know my answer to that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that I don't know, John. You say it because I'm like you're Mr.
Well,
Physicist.
you
I mean, for
know,
me, I go like
and
shit that is really, really dangerous that you probably don't want to get touching. I would be concerned about that, especially for little kids.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking that one person who does the detector, because we look at that when we're buying collections. You bet we've got a Geiger counter because we're looking to see is there is a risk here. But John, what were you going to say?
well, and Ryan probably will appreciate this. Like Laguna agate, you always got that perfect Laguna agate, and then right there in the middle is a big old black blob of siderite. So I'd be like, get rid of that siderite.
This all washes out.
That is such a good answer. I love it.
I just keep waiting for somebody to say moldavite one of these days.
Moldavite. I say moldavite every
Sherman
time.
and John, what are your favorite stones then?
Oh, that's a tough one.
John told me agates last time. Is this charoite?
Charoite?
All right.
Yeah.
This is my
Nice.
absolute favorite. It sits right here on my desk. John made this for me.
Aw.
And he knew I was loving it. And he's like, dude, I got you a sphere. So that's my favorite.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to just pick a favorite. I mean, I love the banded agates. I love the banded agates. So my favorites change over time. And actually, that's a great thing about getting into lapidary is that you can start with one favorite and then you can just keep evolving in it and finding new things that are your favorites and continually be inspired.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Oh, my
a lot of
goodness.
times it has something that has meaning to you other than the stone. So Jim Awaihi, the old dig Jim Awaihi for me. My dad 30 years ago got into this. He's too old to do it now. He's almost 81. And he got me started 3 or 4 years ago. And he gave me some of what he had. But that's the first thing I ever remember seeing him slab or cab was some of the old Jim Awaihi. And so for me, that's King of Jasper right there. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's awesome.
Okay, so we have come to the end of the show tonight, and how we end our show is we do a giveaway. Ryan, how many do we have to pick from today?
There is 22. And are we letting Sherman do it?
Whoa, yeah, absolutely. So Ryan, talk about what the gift is going to be this week.
Okay,
Also,
so-
wait, hold on. Sorry. Last week we had 3 winners. 2 of them got shipped. I just want to let that last person know your stuff is here. It's ready to go as soon as I get new UPS bubble mailers. Okay, sorry, Ryan. 1 through
right, guys.
22.
So it is 1 through 22. I need you to pick Sherman. But first, what we're doing for this week's giveaway is a $25 gift certificate to Glacier Bros live shows on Facebook. And check it out. Free $25. Just come in and pick out whatever you want. If you spend $15, we get shipped for free. If you spend $25, then we got to charge you for shipping. It's fun. We have a lot of fun, and we try to teach everything we can, where the stones come from. If you have questions about what they're made out of, we try to get all that stuff.
That's awesome. So I need
Go
to pick
ahead.
a number.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to pick 17.
17 is Rebellious Chaos.
Awesome.
Now,
I can get you her information, Ryan.
Oh,
That's
okay.
awesome.
I just have to say, Rebellious Chaos, this $25 gift certificate, it's not what it seems like it is. Because when you go on there, that's just not going to do anything for you because he has $1 million worth of other product that you're going to want to add to it. So my $15 gift certificate didn't go real far for me.
You are too funny.
Ryan has great material. I just couldn't resist when I got it.
Congratulations, Sarah. And I do want to talk about our great big giveaway that we're doing at the very end of the season. So everyone that comments between now and episode 19, you are going to be entered into this giveaway in which I am adding a new item to it every week. So let me show you what we started with. This nice big piece of honeycomb calcite. Okay, it is a great big piece, my favorite stone. And then on top of that, I added an Indonesian agate. This is Indonesian coral. And then this week we are adding to it a brand new leather bag for going out rock hounding. Got lots of compartments. It's unisex, which is really cool. So just wanted to let everybody know about that. I think David had something to say about our stickers.
Oh, the stickers. Oh my, I don't have the sticker laying here. What is wrong with me? I left it in the house. Do I have one up here somewhere? So, Rock Talk Lapidary, there we go. Don't forget your Rock Talk Lapidary stickers. We get $2 a piece for these, or you can buy 10 for $1.75 a piece. And if you don't have one of these, you just ain't nobody.
Oh my gosh, stop. Okay, so that's awesome. Thank you, David.
We're adding a 10-pound chunk of Maramamba Tiger Eye, uncut, 10 pounds. So
holy cow, guys, that's great. So make sure that you're commenting.
They don't mind this anymore, so this stuff's really cool. Can't get this anymore.
That's good to know, for sure.
And from my side, I will be adding a sphere that I have made to this giveaway as well. Next week, I will have it out on the table to show everybody what I'm giving away.
Our last episode of the season this year is going to be super great.
Hold on. I think John and I are going to add something to this whole thing as well.
Oh, wow.
But we're making it up on the spot here. So what are we going to do?
That's double up on what Ryan did for the drawing today. That's great. Give him
wow, thank you.
That'll be smoking cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So a gift.
You guys are great.
Your live shows is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Heck yeah. That's awesome.
So since we are at the end of the show, I would love to hear some last comments from everybody as I pull you out. So let's give the mic to Brad. Do you have any final comments or questions for John or Sherman?
Just for both of you guys, thanks for sharing your experience and the way you guys come about into this, making the machines in your rock world. I appreciate it. I love your guys' product. And I know I've always had pretty good luck with buying parts and pieces from you. You know, a few snafus here once in a while, like it always happens, but that's to be expected anywhere. But again, thanks, guys, for coming and joining us tonight, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
We appreciate you, too.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Brad. Bye. Okay, David, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, nobody got to let me say whether or not I was going to give something at the end of this show. And we're working on trying to decide exactly what we're going to do. Cogwheels for Autism is going to do something. It might even be a new rock tumbler. That's what I would like to do. So we're going to go that direction. And but I would love everybody come on Facebook. Our Facebook group is Rock Tumblers for Autism. Rock Tumblers, 2 words, for Autism. Come on there, and we've given away 27 rock tumblers now, and I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're selling cabs and selling pop sockets to raise the funds to do that, that's quite a few rock tumblers. And the kids, they just go wild for these things. And I even had a parent right here in town where I'm at tell me this year, after his son using that, he said that rock tumbler, he said it changed our lives. Yeah. And so this is life changing for some of these kids. So come and join us and come say hi. Come and watch what we do. We have a lot of fun.
Yep.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
Really great getting to see you guys again. Sherman, it was great finally getting to meet you face to face here.
Absolutely, Dave. Great to see you, dude.
Love your enthusiasm, Dave. Bye. All right, go ahead, Ryan.
Oh man, I'm not going to talk about me right now. I'm going to talk about you guys. Me and my little brother have gone through company after company, Covington, Pacific Diamond. We've gone through Ray Tech, a bunch of different companies, and we found you guys about 2 years ago and cleared everything else out of our workshop, every other machine. We own 7 Highland Park machines right now, and we swear by you guys. I tell everybody, we send everybody to you. They're the real deal. If you buy something from them, they stand by everything that they say, and they're very knowledgeable, guys. They have amazing stuff. It's an honor to know both you guys, for real. I'm still manifesting that wet belt sander, John.
Yeah.
I might have a deal coming up for you. I might have a
Sweet.
demo.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, dude,
All
I
right.
really appreciate it a lot because it means a lot for you, to connect with us. Because I think that you were kind of our initial connection on this, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
Yeah,
Like,
because
I
I
was
talked
someone
to
to look-
John.
Yeah, and really appreciate that. And I mean, I love this program. I mean, this is great, and certainly this would be something we'd be very interested in, participating more, and also looking to have you guys involved with some of the things that we're doing. Because again, we want to, that rising the tide raises all the boats, and for us,
Yes.
it's all about the hobby, and it's all about making people successful. Because people don't do a hobby because they don't have confidence, or they lose their confidence because they have a bad start. And so for us, we're really, really aiming on how do we help people really win and succeed, and then be able to spread that passion to others.
I agree. A lot of people also quit from fear, from lack of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
that's why we're here
Exactly.
too.
Yep.
Thank you guys.
Thank
so
you,
much.
Ryan. Thank you. Good job tonight. I appreciate you. Okay, guys. Well, what did you think, Sherman, of coming on here and getting hounded with questions from us?
Oh, great. Well, your audience is terrific because I'm watching their chats here. Like, really great engagement there. And I really love the questions here, too. And it's like what you guys are doing, this impacts people's lives. And
We hope so.
I mean, what Dave's doing with, kids with autism. I've known Dave for years. And Ryan and what you're doing, this is something that it's an important social service because people also need ways of connecting, and by being
Yes.
able to connect online, this really gives a way for people to be interacting where you don't have to get in your car, you don't have to drive somewhere. And for some people that can't do that anymore, like we have people come on our live shows, I'm like, no, they're probably not driving anymore, or
Yeah.
somebody's driving them, but they can participate because we all need connection and we all need
Yes.
inspiration. And that's really what I see you doing here, which is such an important thing to be doing.
Oh, you're going to make me cry. Thank you so much for recognizing that. It's not just me, it's the whole team here. And we love our viewers. We try to interact and do fun things for them. We try to help educate them and show them people like you two who, have this huge storage of knowledge in your brains, and we want to get it out. We want to suck that out of you.
We love getting places where we can share it, where it really helps people. Because the more people that are enjoying this hobby, the more it's going to have strength and longevity, and it's so much more healthy than you go home at night and you sit in front of the television.
Yes.
Right? Like
Yes.
creating something is a really important. It's a really important outlet and element for people.
Absolutely. So final comments for everybody here tonight. And then please don't leave. You guys can stick around in the back end.
Okay. Yeah, I would say just final comments. When you're getting in, no matter where you are in terms of your gemstone cutting and polishing journey, connect with others and really work to build your confidence. Take on challenges that may be difficult. And that's where communities are really important, because a lot of what we try to do is we try to share secrets, in the hobby. A lot of times people be in this idea, well, if I share my knowledge, then you're going to compete with me. I'm like, no, this is a huge, huge world. And so, I would also invite, if you're ever stuck or your machine, I don't care whether it's a Highland Park machine or anything else. If you're stuck, you're having a problem, reach out to us. We'll help anybody. I don't care what you buy machines.
I get questions on all kinds of equipment, and those who watch me posting on Facebook, I answer questions, whether it's a Phantom saw or a Baraka saw. Like I aim to help people because I know if I help them, they're going to be in this hobby for a while, and they're going to be spreading the knowledge and spreading that help to other people.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you guys for joining us tonight. I appreciate you
thanks
both.
so much for having us.
It was such a pleasure to meet you. And I'll see you on the back end in just a minute.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Oh my gosh, guys, what a great show tonight. I had so much fun, even though I wasn't on camera very much. I was in the back scenes doing everything, keeping things going and messing up the photos. That was fun. But you guys are awesome. Can't wait to see you next week. We have Mark Anderson is going to return and share with us what he has been working on in gembone and his silversmithing and his copper work. So be sure to tune in for that. Set your alarm and be here. So I love you guys. Keep on rocking.
Great show, guys. Let's go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. See you next Thursday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.